Our story begins nearly a century ago. In a magical glade of Varisia, a young elf, by the name of Tamriel, happened upon the most beautiful being he had ever seen. She lured him in with her honeyed words and lithe form, feeding him the fruits of the glade around them that he gladly accepted. The fruits only deepened Tamriel's illusion. Most elves would never have fallen for such deceit, but Tamriel was young, inexperienced, and weakened from a long journey. The beautiful female had introduced herself as Sophie, and they spent some time together. Tamriel had not yet heard of the craven Sophie Fleshnibbler, an anise hag that hunted in these parts. This was a new type of hunt for Sophie. Typically, she would simply lash out at her victims with her cold iron claws and raw strength, ripping them to shreds, and slowly consuming their pieces of flesh, not bothering to hide her true form. Sophie had been challenged by another of her coven that doubted her patience. Sophie Fleshnibbler would never back down from a challenge. So with the help of another more magically adept hag, she used borrowed magic to change the shape of her realm, that was rotten and destitute, to one that appeared as vibrant and beautiful. Tamriel meditated, and upon recovering some of his fatigue, his elven blood finally overcame the deceitful illusion. The fruits were rotten, the vibrant lights replaced by dark, gloomy, and overcast shadows. Beautiful flowers becoming poisonous mushrooms and carnivorous plants. Tamriel barely missed the cold steel nails that were driving to slit his throat that very moment. Quickly the elf fled, having only glimpsed briefly the true form of his companion that night. Quite the opposite of a beautiful woman, Sophie's true form was that of a muscular 8-foot-tall, blue-gray skinned hag, covered in scars and blemishes with rotting teeth and unkempt hair. Tamriel was unaware that several months later, his daughter would be born. Born as the child of an unknowing elf and an anise hag in the lands of Varisia. Liandras spent the first 50 years of her life in abject horror and torture, a magical experiment bound by her mother, the craven Sophie Fleshnibbler, an anise hag who had tricked her father into bedding her for the sole purpose of creating an offspring she could experiment with her dark magics on. Anise hags are more known for their violence and torture than their magical aptitude. And thus Sophie considers her daughter a failure. Sophie was not aware that she was accidentally successful and in one spell intoxicated rager created the correct combination of herbs, spices, and trauma to enlighten Liandra with limited touch telepathy. Having been forced to drink many unknown concoctions, many with various forms of acid in them, her tongue had been halfway dissolved and normal speech was difficult for her. Liandra learned of this ability much later, as she never willfully touched her mother. It was actually a miracle she was not made lunch as a child, since anise hags' favored meals are the hearts of the young. Sophie was incredibly paranoid and kept Liandra hidden from the rest of her coven quite well. Eventually, her pride became her undoing as the whispers of her deeds spread amongst Varisia. To land upon the ears of one Tamriel young elf that had been tricked so many moons ago. Tamriel led a search party of his kin, and led the rescue to save his lost daughter. Liandra appears as a rather beautiful elf at a quick glance, with long silky black hair, pouty lips in a vibrant red lipstick, and a lithe body. Almost immediately though you notice something is off. Her eyes are two colors, a vibrant purple and a blue-gray steel. Her tongue is mangled and partially missing as if burnt or cut, you can't quite tell other than it's not all there. Around her neck is what appears to be an oversized gem from a distance. Upon closer inspection, it looks more like a box. As she speaks, her lips move, but the sound you hear comes from her neck. The lengths of her sleeves have been modified, almost as if the studded leather armor she wears has been combined with a priestess robe with long flowing sleeves. You notice as she inspects the mace she carries that such a weapon would be unnecessary for the oracle. Her hands are a weapon themselves, ending in sharpened points that resemble cold iron.